At 8 years old, Donny Osmond wrote a heartbreaking letter from Sweden. Instead of comfort, his father's response was brutal and set the tone for decades of hidden pain. By his 30s, Donny was suffering from crippling anxiety that nearly ended his career. He even admitted, "I hated being me." But the most shocking revelation came in a 2025 interview when he finally confessed what really happened during those early years that shaped his entire life. Fred Silverman's decision to give Donny and Marie Osmond their own primetime variety show was unlike anything television had seen before. At the time, both were still teenagers, with Donny at 18 and Marie only 16. That made them the youngest entertainers in history to host a variety show, a record that has never been repeated. Their show premiered in January 1976 and lasted for 78 episodes until 1979, placing them in the same league as some of the most successful variety shows of that decade. What made this so unusual was the fact that prime-time variety shows had always been led by seasoned stars like Carol Burnett, Sonny and Cher, or established comedians. Yet ABC was willing to risk millions of dollars on two teenagers from Utah, even granting them full creative control over a prime-time slot. It was a gamble so bold that it reshaped the way networks looked at young talent and television audiences for decades to come. The producers, Sid and Marta Krofft, were brought in to shape the show, and their involvement was as surprising as the decision to hire the Osmonds in the first place. The Krofts were famous for creating HR Puffin Stuff, a psychedelic children's program filled with surreal characters such as a witch, a talking flute, a shipwrecked boy, and a red-headed dragon in cowboy boots. They carried that same trippy imagination into primetime, building a variety show that looked more like a colorful dream than a traditional television program. The set included an ice rink stage, and Donny performed in powder blue tuxedo jumpsuits embroidered with peacock feathers, life-sized puppets, oversized costumes, and bright, exaggerated designs filled the screen, creating a spectacle that was both bizarre and unforgettable. Their unusual vision turned the clean-cut Mormon siblings into the stars of a prime-time fantasy world, and audiences tuned in every week to watch. Marie's position in the show carried an especially historic weight. She still holds the record as the youngest female ever to host a national television variety show, a record that has stood for nearly 50 years. The responsibility placed on her shoulders was extraordinary. At the time the show began in January 1976, she was still technically a high school student, yet she was standing on the same stage as legendary entertainers. Over 78 episodes, she helped carry the weight of celebrity interviews, musical performances, comedy skits, and ratings that could determine the careers of hundreds of people working behind the scenes. Marie later admitted that the pressure was brutal, recalling moments when executives insulted her looks and even warned her that her performance could cost 250 people their jobs. Despite this treatment, she and Donny created a show so lasting that it was later revived as a daytime talk show in the 1990s and even returned in a Broadway Christmas version in 2010. For ABC, the decision to put Donny and Marie in primetime was more than a programming choice. It was a carefully planned attempt to capture the youth market in the mid-1970s. At the time, advertisers most wanted to reach viewers between the ages of 18 and 49, and ABC realized that younger faces could help them dominate that audience. Their strategy proved so effective that by 1997, the network was openly spending about $12 million on campaigns aimed at youth audiences, a move that reflected a formula they had already tested successfully with the Osmonds decades earlier. Competing networks were forced to rethink their own programming as ABC's youth-focused strategy began to pay off, proving that the risky decision To rely on two Mormon teenagers had changed the television landscape. As the show continued, the crafts kept pushing the boundaries of what a variety show could look like. They introduced elaborate costumes, ice dancers, and even puppetry, blending elements from Saturday morning children's programming with primetime entertainment. Their unusual special effects and playful skits created a style that felt more like a live-action cartoon than a traditional variety show. In the second season, they pushed Marie into a new role with famed designer Bob Mackie, transforming her from a sweet ingenue into a glamorous adult performer, while Donny continued wearing his signature powder blue tuxedos with peacock embroidery. The bold visual changes gave the show an identity unlike any other, and audiences could not look away. The pairing of Donny and Marie as co-hosts grew out of their appearance on the Mike Douglas show in 1974. The two were brought on as guest hosts for a weekend. Their natural chemistry impressed executives immediately. It was not unusual for the show to take big risks, as it had allowed John Lennon and Yoko Ono to co-host in 1972. But when the Osmond siblings took their turn, their blend of Donny's teen idol charm and Marie's rising credibility in country music proved magnetic. Fred Silverman saw the potential instantly and offered them their own series, building on the already popular Osmond brand while giving audiences something fresh with a brother-sister partnership. Marie's place on the show was made possible in part by her success with the song Paper Roses. She recorded it at just 13 years old, and it reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart less than a month after her 14th birthday. This made her the youngest solo artist to top that chart and gave the Osmond family the perfect counterpart to Donny's pop stardom. The song, originally a hit for Anita Bryant in 1960, reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and climbed to number 2 in the United Kingdom, proving Marie's appeal was international. Her ability to cross from country to pop meant the show could attract both teenage fans and more mature audiences, making her the perfect balance to